Self-Destruct sequence activated.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ron Clay here, filling in for Dr. Zing. This is the Self-Destruct Sequence podcast.
And I am mortified. Thank you very much for joining us. It is Saturday, February 13th. Yes. Yes, because the calendar is still on January.
Oh, jeez. We need to get you like a digital
I promise
calendar.
you I don't do that for the show. I'm just that lazy. Anyway, yeah, this is episode 14. Welcome to the Self-Destruct Sequence.
And my oh my, we've had quite a week in the Descent universe. And we have to start it off with probably the biggest news since Descent Underground got announced. Matt Toshlag and Mike Kulas made an announcement earlier this week from their new production studio called Revival Productions. And they're going to be coming out with this game called Overload, which is a new 6 Degree of Freedom first-person shooter in the style of Descent. It's got deformed cubes and all kinds of stuff that you'll remember from the old Descent days. And it's called Overload. They also have Luke Schneider and Chris Claflin on board. That's kind of hard to pronounce. I hope I got that right. And they started their Kickstarter this past Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. And we'll put the link up to the Kickstarter over on our show notes when we're ready. As of this writing, they're 4 days in. And out of $300,000, they're up to $63,000. So they're about 20% of the way through, 21% of the way through. 1,300 backers on this project. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely check out the Kickstarter videos that they got up there. It's what you. I honestly felt like when I saw it, this is Descent, not rebooted, but brought into the modern era. It's like, what would you do if you didn't, you could rebuild retro rather than continue to improve retro?
Indeed, yeah, and it's kind of anything. Yeah, there's also going to be a Reddit event this Monday, the 15th, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, over at reddit.com/r/IAMA. It is a scheduled event, so you can go see it. Put it on your calendar and everything. Matt Toshlag and Mike Kulas will be hosting that. Basically, if you don't know what an AMA, it's typically means ask me anything. You go there and you post your questions, and they'll spend an hour or two answering whatever questions. So it's going to be pretty cool. Definitely check that out. Some quick hits about the game. Like I said, it's single player only. This is not a multiplayer game, at least for launch. If they do add multiplayer, it will come after launch. That's kind of been a disappointment to some of us in the multiplayer community, but from me personally, I'm a 6 Degree of Freedom junkie. If you make a 6 Degree of Freedom game, I'm going to buy it. That's why I have Sub-Level 0. That's why I have Minor Wars 2081. You know, I got this. I got the single player games. I got the good ones. I got the bad ones. I got Chromia, for God's sakes. That's like a 6 Degree bullet hell game. That's really bizarre. But yeah, there's no microtransactions. They've already announced that. I already mentioned it's got deformed cube levels, but it's not going to be boxy like Descent. They've got this weird thing where like the walls have 3D textures, and it's to the point where you look at it and you wouldn't even know it's made from a cube. It's really good.
So it looks like I actually, dug a hole in the ground.
Instead of like cardboard cut a box out. It's looks so much better than Descent, but this allows them to make the levels. From personal experience, making a level using the deformed cubes, as long as you have familiarity with the editor, it's pretty fast. It's not like I made levels for Descent 3 as well, and I knew that editor pretty good, and it took me forever to do anything in it. It's night and day. So
If I recall correctly, some of the maps that were used on the competitive circuit, even back in the day, using the primitive tools that we had compared to what we have now, I think they were just still using whatever was before Devil to make
DMB,
competitive
if I remember.
levels.
Descent Mission Builder.
Yeah, Descent Mission Builder was after Devil.
Oh, was it? I thought
I'm
that was the
pretty
original. I thought that was the original editor.
Regardless, someone will know. But regardless, they're using that old editor, but because it was the cube setup that you described, how easy it is to work. There are levels we play today still in the competitive circuit that were built in 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's it. Textures, everything, lighting, done.
Done. They also have. They were showing off this mesh generation that they were using for like the graded. You know how in like levels like Vamped or Logic or Athena, there's these like little graded tunnels, and they got the little X pattern. They were showing how they're making them, and those are actually 3D models in this game. It's not a wall texture, so that's kind of cool. I really like that. It says that Zako's saying that Med/Miner was the original editor. I guess.
Yeah, I
tells me
recall
what I
that.
know.
It was pretty klutzy, but it made all of the original. Made all the original levels for Descent. That was the one that they used in house to build the missions. Correct? I think so.
I believe. I'm gonna have to go back to my CDs because I recall that a mission builder was included with one of my CDs, and I don't remember which one it was. But
I remember playing around with Descent Mission Builder. I think it was even Descent Mission Builder 2, but
yeah. So as far as platforms, of course, PC, PC Masterclass. There you go. Mac, Linux, PC, PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One. We're gonna get this on consoles. That's pretty cool. Now, I'm not a big fan of playing this game on a controller because where do you map everything? But it's doable. People play it that way. We saw people at the Denver LAN play it like that. We've seen Descendant Studios has controller setups, and they're going to do the same thing here. So it's interesting. Aside from that, is that what the Zyko's mentioning that it should enable Med and Rebirth? Is that what the editor directory is for in the code? I guess that may be. I might have to check that out. I've never seen that editor, so I don't really know what it's like. But Scion's saying it was pretty horrifying. But anyway, there's going to be some dynamic lighting, completely dynamic lighting, mind you. You can get it from players. There'll be a headlight, there'll be a flare, and the flare looks pretty neat. It's not something that just sticks to the wall. It's something you kind of shoot out from your ship, and it just goes a distance and then kind of floats there for a while. Even the robots will have headlights, so you can see some of them coming sometimes. I think that's going to add to the creepy factor that Descent had. That should be pretty interesting.
Those robots in the demo video.
Oh god, the ones with the saw blades.
Yeah, I mean, like that was. Reminds me of the medium lifter. Was it the green guy with the forks?
Mm-hmm. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Old Scratch from D3. It had that style to it for some reason. I really felt like I saw it when I first saw the silhouette of that on their website. I think it's revivalprod.com. They had a coming soon, and they have a silhouette of that saw-bladed robot. I'm like, this is Descent 3 style totally. They have pretty good 3D models in there, but when you actually go and look at the gameplay, it looks much more like D1, D2, a lot smaller, more constrained space. It looks like they know how to do it right and to put these awesome models in a game where the dimensions make sense, which I think is pretty important. A lot of people think that's important. So they also have persistent debris. Luke Schneider was showing that off on his stream on Friday. By the way, if you go to, and we'll post a link to YouTube, but if you go to twitch.tv/Revival Productions, you can see the VOD video on demand for that stream from Friday. You'll see them playing around with it. And Actually, they go through like the first few levels of D1 too. It's kind of funny. So there's that. The editor will be included, the level editor. They do have mod tools and editor documentation as a stretch goal for 350,000. So we'll see what they do with that. They also have additional stretch goals after that, but they haven't announced them yet. And they say when they reach the previous goal, like when they hit 300,000, I guess that the next goal is 350,000, and they'll announce what's at 400,000 or something like that. They'll do something like that, which will be pretty cool. And the soundtrack will be by our old buddy Dan Wentz and someone we haven't heard from in a while, Alistair Brimble, who, of course, did the music for D1 and D2. So, yeah, it's like old buddies teaming up again. That's kind of cool to get the guys that did the original soundtrack know what the music for this style of game is supposed to sound like, because they invented it, and put it in a modern game with modern music tools instead of having the MIDI music or whatnot. I think that's going to be really cool. So, again, the URLs, of course, you got revivalprod.com, twitch.tv/revivalproductions. They have a Twitter account, which is at playoverload. And I get that confused with Overwatch for some reason. I don't know why. That's not even the same type of game. So
I actually in my head there was in my Team Fortress 2 gaming community, we had several smaller teams, and one of the teams called themselves Overhealed, and that's what I keep every time I see that.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm sure we'll get used to it over time. And of course, they have a YouTube page. It doesn't have a friendly URL because YouTube sucks at friendly URLs. But if you search for Revival Productions, you'll find them pretty quick. They got 3 videos out, including their teaser video and 2 highlighted videos from their VOD from Friday. So definitely check them out. This is going to be pretty cool. And definitely go back them. I can't stress enough that this looks like Descent, and they haven't ruled out eventually doing a multiplayer, but it's not going to come with the original, and they haven't committed to it, but they've said it's a possibility, so we'll see. I'd actually really like to get one of those guys on the podcast. I did talk to Mike Koulis a little bit during the stream, and he said that they couldn't do it today. It couldn't be here today, but possibly a future episode we might be able to get one of them
That
on.
would be really exciting.
It would be. So many questions that we'd have to ask this guy. So
Okay, can we rib them about the code from in the original?
I wouldn't do that. As much as I could, I wouldn't. So yeah, so that does it for Overload. And just brief update, Descent Underground, of course, put out a pair of updates this past week. They're adding community-made maps. They have maps called Coliseum and Dead Moraz, made by Gosnick, and they have Skylab made by Perfect Pencil. They're all gray box, so there's no the texturing looks silly. It's like more measurements than texture. You'd have to see it. But you get to fly around, and it's pretty good to see the player-made maps get in there. They added the shaman and all the tools that go with. So in team games, you're now able to heal your allies. They added the frag cannon back. That's, of course, what was called the shrapnel cannon. They have something called Triple D. And I'm looking at this, and then I'm thinking to myself, this has got to be some kind of inside joke at Descendant Studios. You know how they have STFU for ships that fight underground, and Triple D just sounds wrong. But basically what it is you fire it at someone who's running away, and it creates this vortex that slows them down. So this is kind of like the opposite of what it's kind of like the answer. I guess you could call this the answer to the laser grid. And I'd really like to see this in play. If someone drops a laser grid and you fire a Triple D at them, does that stop them from running away up to the point that the laser grid is taken away? Because if so, I think that would resolve my major complaint with the laser grid, which it just completely breaks up gameplay.
I would just be interested in having some way to grab all the people who run away from me by the scruff of their neck and just bring them back in and say, "Listen, sucker."
Yeah, But the on the other side of that, of course, there was another Descent game that had a vortex weapon in it, and that would be Descent 3 with the Black Shark. And you know what they did with the Black Shark in the Descent 3 community? They put it on permaban. You almost never see Black Sharks in Descent 3 anywhere. Um, yeah. Jedi Luke says you force choke him.
That's fair enough.
So they added the Hot Rocks mode, and with that they included a specific map for Hot Rocks called Helix Prime. Hot Rocks, of course, is their throwback to rugby/soccer. It seems like it'd be a pretty cool mode. I have not had time in the past week to check this out, so I'm pretty much reading from patch notes here. But I do intend to get into it a little more this week when I have more time. They have improved controller support, a whole bunch of VR improvements, including the main menu is now you can navigate it using VR. They fixed a bunch of things with chat, and then they released another patch that basically opens everything to the alpha and beta backers. But this patch also adds something called hover bobbing, which of course, if you play Descent 1, you're familiar with what hover bombing is. It's when you stay still, your ship goes like this. It is disableable, which means I think it is just a visual effect. I don't think your ship actually does it. So, and then the other thing that they have is roll on yaw, where if you turn this way, you're actually doing something like this. So their thought is that this will make this feel more accessible to those that are used to Descent 1 and Descent 2 style ships. Again, I haven't seen it. I haven't played with it, but
The roll on yaw, for those having trouble visualizing it, but recall playing on all keyboard, that if you were playing without auto leveling on, that eventually you found yourself pointed at a bizarre angle up at the top of the ceiling when you were doing circle strafing. You would wind up on the ceiling because of the way that the ship would slightly tilt during a turn. So
yeah, so we'll have to check that out. That's it could be good depending on how they implemented it. So we'll see. And then the last game that received some updates recently was Geocore. There was this big single-player mode update that added these really large rooms, and they filled with I think the last one had 16 robots in it, and you just go in with their equivalent of the fusion cannon. I don't even know. I can't remember for the life of me what these weapons are named. I know they have names, and I just don't remember what they have. But you go in with a fusion cannon, and it was just so satisfying to just mow them down with 2 shots. It's so cool. So they also received some graphical updates. That was one of my major complaints about the game, was that the graphics looked rushed, just very temporary things, but the fusion actually looks pretty nice now. It kind of looks more like the D3 style fusion. It doesn't move around like D3 did, because D3's fusion actually rotated as it went out to give it some kind of visual look. But so this one looks a lot better. So we're looking forward to see some more Geocore updates. So, like I've said in the past, its netcode's pretty good. I had a ton of fun playing multiplayer on that. So hopefully we'll see a lot more updates for that in the future. That does it for our regular news segments. We'll just very quickly go over the update on the 1.4x5 in retro. The most recent update that came out this past Thursday fixed something known as the demo rewind bug. Which kind of helped cause a little bit of a controversy, but this is basically what that is if you rewound through the demo through a point that had 2 sources of damage hitting the first person of the demo at the same time, only one of them would rewind. And then if you played it forward from there, it would look like they only got hit by one of the 2 projectiles. That bug's been fixed. So when you rewind now, it will rewind both of those events. And then something that's actually on my plate is doing some D3 style observers, where instead of being able to fly around freely, you fly around with the ship right in someone's cockpit. This has been something that's been frequently requested. We've been saying it's been planned. One of the things that we eventually want to do with it is add things such as seeing the pilot's shields and energy. But there's networking concerns about that. Uh, Namely, being like right now, only the person who's hosting the game sends the observer packets out. This would require all the clients sending to observers, which would
Right.
pretty much require a rewrite of observer mode, which I'm not sure if that's going to happen for 1.4x5. But yeah, the D3 style observer mode is definitely something that is planned and coming. Like I said, it's next for what I'm doing. And then, what else was there? There was one other thing I wanted to mention about that, and it just completely slipped my mind. I don't have it in the notes. But anyway, so that's pretty much it for retro. It was really cool. It was. We'll get to that in a second, how observer mode is going. So we'll go ahead and go through the community news, starting with the Descent Rangers. We had the co-op event earlier today. They played Encounter at Farpoint 2 Dimensions and Legacy of Chaos were the two mission sets. I was able to play the Encounter at Farpoint, and something really weird happened in that game. And I'm not really sure if this was because it had all kinds of custom stuff in it, but eventually the robots decided one by one that they weren't going to fire at players. So the robots just kind of like they stood there, made their noise, and just didn't do anything. And it was amusing because it got to the point where it was only firing at one player. I don't remember. Nalexi, I think was his name, and he would only fire at him. And we got to a point where we were firing. We were up against the boss robot, and we're just sitting around the boss robot, and he comes in, and the boss robot turns to him and just wrecks him with a mega missile. And so we're waiting like 20 minutes for him to come back and collect his weapons. And every time he comes back, the bot either gauzes him to death or hits him with a mega missile. It was probably very frustrating for him, to say the least. But yeah, we didn't get to experience that as it was intended, I'm sure. So, but yeah, the next event will be coming up kind of at an odd time. This is a Friday, February 19th at 3 p.m. Eastern. And they'll be doing that Shaker Baker event this time with teams, which is going to be awesome because there's going to be so many team kills. There's going to be a lot of shouting at each other, I'm sure. It's hard to play Shakers solo as it is, but put teams into the mix. There's going to be a lot of fun going on there. So, and that just about does it for the Rangers. And moving over to the DCL. Of course, last night we had the Observatory event. We ended up playing 10 matches, and I have to say, this, as far as what I had expected coming into it, this pretty much exceeded my expectations. I thought that it would end up being like a bunch of people coming in, checking it out, maybe staying for part of a match or so, and then just moving on. No, I had like 25 people just watching for a couple hours. It was pretty awesome to see everybody so interested in this type of event. The Observatory, of course, was the new observer mode, and we had myself, Entropy, and later Morphod came on, and we were commentating these matches. They weren't any special matches in particular; it was just DCL matches, and we ended up playing 10 different matches. Just going to go down the list real quick. We had Mark beating Cyrus 20-10 in Logic, which started it off, which was kind of interesting because Cyrus had a really bad start in that game, but that could have been like 20-4 or 20-3, and at the end he started getting some kills on Mark and started going 1-for-1 with him. We saw Jedi Luke beat Dracona and Athena 20-9. We had Avaniac and Rooster 61 playing in Barathrum Blind. I had no idea that was blind, and I should have known because I was watching Rooster 61 literally fly into walls when he was in some of the tunnels.
Yeah.
I was like, what is he doing? But yeah, that was a blind match. Vaniac won that 20-11. Definitely outdoing Rooster when it came to dogfighting, and that was what impressed me in that match. Rooster's known as a really good dogfighter, and Vaniac just blew him apart. And it's really interesting. Then we had the biggest
This
blowout
didn't exist.
of the what? No, we had the biggest blowout of the night. It was
Exist.
it was Jedi Luke beating Morphod 20-6 in Fused X5.
I suggested the level.
What were you thinking?
Last night had a lot of alcohol.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. And then we had what I really think was the match of the night was Dracona's comeback against Cyrus in Ascend, 20-17. She was down, I think, 10-5 at one point, if I remember right. And
I wasn't able to watch it, and I was kicking myself for not just ignoring protocol and going in and using the observer mode directly.
oh yeah, and it was really nice. Cyrus had a really good start, but Dracona stayed in there and then ended up coming back to take the win. Really good. Entropy taking on Scion and Bluebird. Entropy won that 120-9. We'll get to Scion in a second because he had a second game in here. And then Mark played Dracona, Mark 392 played Dracona in a level called Untitled, in which we figured out what people thought that the level looks like. That was what does it look like to you? You never answered your own question.
Oh, it's a skull, but what does it look like? I thought the horseshoe crab was a pretty good answer.
Crab, yes. 20-11 was the final in that when Mark surprised a lot of people with this fusion. In the other games that night, he did not use fusion all that much, but this one, it was like half his kills were fusion. It seemed like, and they were good shots too. I mean, it's very good, especially in a level like that where the ceiling is not straight.
And against an opponent like that, where fusion may be just a little bit more effective than usual.
And we had a longest match of the night. Mark 392 taking out Jedi Luke 20-12 in Athena X2. There were 7 suicides in that. By the way, that level was randomly chosen. The X2 was predetermined, but the level was random roll.
How long did that match go?
45 minutes about. It was long. And it was kind of funny because Spooty Biscuit was sitting in chat. Of course, he was on a few weeks ago talking about his single-player speedruns. He was saying that he finishes the Descent campaign faster than those two finished that match.
That would be an interesting side-by-side, right? So he starts and has to finish. How far does he get before... how far does he get before the match finishes? That sort of thing.
Yeah, and then probably the most surprising match of the night was Morphod took on Scion in the fusion only level UG. That went 20-12. It was in Morphod's favor, but I think a lot of people were surprised that a bronze pilot got 12 points on someone who holds people to single digits in the same class fighting for the silver fusion trophy. Do you have any comments on that?
Well, one is don't underestimate Scion, plain and simple. It was a fusion slinging match in a fusion slinging level. That's going to provide Scion with the best opportunity to put good scores against me. I was using joystick after a whole month of not using it. But I was having a lot more fun flying around, if you didn't notice from my acrobatics.
Oh, yeah, you were swinging all over that place. It was fun to watch.
But the big thing there is you saw I got right up next to him, and he just wouldn't flinch.
That was the amazing part. Is that is one of the things that I noticed, that you guys were sometimes fighting within a ship length of each other.
You cannot make that guy move at all. It was like... there was no way to light a fire under his ass to hit him, and he's just sitting there daring me to hit him.
Yeah, and at one point...
I couldn't do it consistently. The only time I could get him was when, once he started moving, I could hit him. When he was doing the staring contest, I don't know if he was in control of the game, but I certainly had lost it.
Yeah. At one point, Scion did get 4 kills in a row in that to ensure that he got double digits that game. That was pretty impressive. And then the final game was Mark 392. I wouldn't say that this was an upset, but I definitely think Mark beat the spread here, beating Cyrus in Cyrus's home level of Crimson 20-8. That is a beatdown for sure. We will post a link to the VOD in the show notes, and I'm also going to be doing a whole bunch of... I'm going to be separating out the matches and posting those to YouTube as well. They'll be over at youtube.com/Ronclay later this week. And like I said, it was just an awesome event. We had so many people come together to watch this, not just in the Descent community. We also had people from that just found the channel coming in. I mean, it was really cool, and I definitely appreciate everyone who played, everyone who watched. Of course, More Fun and Entropy for helping out, Dracona and Jinx for their work on the observer mode stuff. Really cool. It was awesome. So
It was an excellent production. Thank you for putting it on, Ron.
yes. Now I checked my email earlier this week, and I got some interesting feedback.
You did.
Yes. I think maybe I should play it. What do you think?
You got an audio message.
I got an audio message from.
Okay, all right. What do they have to say? They probably insulted them on the show by accident.
Well. I got this message from someone that goes by the handle, you might know him, of Jimmy Russell's.
Never heard of him. Let's hear what he has to say.
All right, here we go.
You know what really charges my fusion? The DCL rating algorithm. That's right, the beautiful little algorithm that sorts pilots out into different skill tiers. All 3 of them. That's gold, silver, and bronze, but oh wait, there's diamond and unrated, which I like to call purgatory. And it's where I'd rather be right now because I'm in that little place between silver and gold called hell. I have watched players with whom I am competitive go flying over my head into the gold challenge and get a crack at this nonsense. But what do I get? Zip, nada, bupkiss, 0. Oh, wait, I can't say 0 because apparently he made gold too. And it's not like I have a bad record against gold pilots either. Let's take a brief look at how the algorithm really charges my fusion. I have beaten the Albuquerque Glass Cannon by 5 points. But I let Dumpo Frumpo Punt get 7 points on me when I should have held him to 4. So I can't get a promotion challenge. What a sin! I go toe-to-toe against Brutus McFusion. But because Dances with Wolves had a couple good games against me, I can't get a promotion challenge. I've won games against Legolas the Kiwi. But because Hobblescotch McCripplehands has time to order delivery and consume a pizza by the time our matches end, I can't get a promotion challenge. I have a competitive rivalry with Buzzsaw Louie, the Wonder Vulcan, but because the brave little toaster from Bellingham has a connection that's like drinking molasses through a cocktail straw, I can't get a promotion challenge. I can play the Boltzmann distribution in very close games all the time, but no, because Super Muffin flips my best levels on me once a month, I can't get a promotion challenge. And there is what really charges my fusion.
Man, that sounds like that Jimmy's got a bit of an issue with DCL.
He sounded a little on edge. Yeah, that's it. But hey, we are the voice of the community. As we try our very best. But that really sounded like something that should have been sent to the DCL administration, or maybe he already did send it off and they told him to go pound sand. Anyway,
All right, what do we got in the DCL this week?
we have quite a bit. There's one thing that I didn't tally. Maybe you could do this in the background for me. I didn't keep track of how many matches were played this week. But I do know that
146.
on one day, last Saturday, what was it? 47 matches were played
Something
in
like
one
that,
day.
yeah. But I think the total came out to 146 or 148 or something like that. Between
But there's still
Saturday and
a
Friday.
surprising explosion of activity. The way I do my show, part of the show, I start from bronze and I work my way up to gold. We got Swarthy with a couple of good games. He got a 15-20 against Warmaster, and I don't know the level. 18-20 against P-Funk and Crimson. It's knocking on the door. Some of those silver pilots are very surprised at the Warmaster score. Other high, another pilot, Spud, getting a 21-23 game against P-Funk in Logic. That is, it's not just the pilot that he's going against, it's the level that he's playing him in. P-Funk likes Logic and is very capable there, as I am personally very well aware. And for bronze on bronze action, oh no, never mind, I have two columns here. I say B2AF has been making a lot of noise. picking up 2016 and 2017 wins over Rooster 61 in Black Rose and Rumble, which I believe gives him the dogfight trophy for that one. I'm not certain where that wound up. He also had a couple of good games against Kaina, 18-20 in Crimson and 15-20 in Black Rose, and also a win over P-Funk 2016. So P-Funk they're chasing after him.
Yeah.
But he's weathering the storm.
And those aren't the only games he had really close games against Bronze too. I mean, there's another one.
Yep, we got Vaniac here.
Yeah, Vaniac beat him 2018.
Vaniac also having a very good week. 2018 against P-Funk and Salute. 18-20 against Ryusei 117 and Vamped. 2017 Lady Silver and Mind Tricks. That call-out match that she posted on the forum. I got to see that firsthand. That was a real brawl. 2017 against Rygai and Nocturnal, picking up another dark horse. And, of course, wins over B2AF 2017 and 2015 on Ascend and Fuse. So a really exciting week for B2AF and Vaniac. Also in the news, Lady Silver's promotion challenge to Silver. She has completed it, finishing the last two games, 13-20 against Entropy and Flea, and 9-20 against P-Funk and Flea, finishing out a disappointing -14. She'll have to wait another month before she gets another crack at it.
And I have to say, she really got unexpectedly wrecked by Zero and P-Funk. You might say that the 20-3 from Zero should have been expected because he's now a gold pilot, but 9 on P-Funk when P-Funk's been having a rough week and in a level that she is really good in, that hurts. That's probably the biggest bronze story this week. Is just I definitely thought that challenge was winnable for her, and especially after that first one, she just had all kinds of aggression on me in Athena, and I don't know. It seemed to me in that last game that she was backing off from that aggression, and maybe she's aware that it only works against certain pilots.
It's very important to know it, to have that aggressive button, but you can't tape it down.
No,
right? You got to know when to really get after some of that. And I thought that a real good example we saw during the observatory was Dracona chasing down Mark with her lasers. There's a time and place to really punch it in, but I think what she's doing right now is she's experimenting with observing the situation rather than going hammer and tongs all the time, and she's going to get burned until she learns when to strike and when to back off.
And it's kind of funny because that's been the evolution of her game. When she first started, she was really aggressive. When she realized aggression wasn't working, she backed off. Then she got good enough where she could start being a little aggressive again and find some success. And maybe it's just another evolution in that step where she needs to learn a little more before she puts the pedal to the metal again.
And that wraps it up for bronze news. We're going to move up the ladder to silver. We have Ryusei 117 with a dark horse win over Cyrus in Flea 20-17. This puts Ryusei at... Pardon?
That's a big one.
Yes, it is. That put him at the #1 silver spot, which he has held. And I got to say that it's looking more and more interesting. I might have to send him a message. See if I can.
Send him a message.
Yes. Close games. I got P-Funk 2018 against Kaina in Nysa. You got one person who's really, really sneaky and the other person who's really, really, really patient in a level as big as Nysa.
How long did that go? I
don't even want to imagine. We have a couple of series I've been playing in. I'm looking at, I had a really good week here. I had a tough series with Melvin, which was 16-20 in Lurk, losing to him, and 21-19 and 22-20, both in Mind Tricks. Really pushing those overtime games. And I had a good series with Cyrus this week, 2017 in Lurk, and he turned around, beat me in my home level, 17-20. And then a 17-20 game also in Mind Tricks. So definitely playing a lot of Lurk and Mind Tricks this week. And other high games, I had a 22-20 overtime win against Mo in Lurk. And my pretty little accomplishment, I don't think I'll be able to repeat this for a long time, 18-20 against Jedi Luke in Crimson.
Ooh, that's knocking at the door right there.
Yeah, he heard what I had to say about it last week in the gold capsules, and I took the opportunity to demonstrate what I meant by a trap level.
Yeah.
But he fixed things pretty well after that. He held me well within single digits in a rematch in the same level on the same settings. So,
All right.
but that was not unexpected by any means. Oh, Jedi, what do you mean say it? I was saying it before you even said it. Jeez. Sorry, I got somebody trolling me in the chat here. Other news, we have two challenges that are ongoing still. We have Ryguy with his demotion challenge. He's finished 3 matches this week, so he still has one more to go. But he's also sitting at a plus 11 advantage, which means that this last match is really a formality, but still important for the completion of it. We've got he had 2018 game against Ronkley and Black Rose, in which he demonstrated that he was very well derusted. Thank you very much.
Yes, and it's kind of funny because we had played in Black Rose earlier as I think it was either random level or he requested it, and I don't remember playing him in that before, but it was our second game. In our first game, he won 20-17, so he's definitely strong in Black Rose, and he proved it. It was a very competitive game. It was funny. He was up 16-12 at one point, and I got 5 in a row. So he thought he was going to lose it, and he came back and won that game. It was a good game.
And I followed that up with a 7-20 game in Nocturnal against me, and an 11-20 game against Mo and Crimson. But understand that the score goal in those levels was quite a bit lower.
10 each,
and
yes.
as a result of that, he still has that plus 11 advantage because of his excellent performance against Ronkley and in his first promotion match. So now he's just waiting on War Master in Take 2, where Ryguy is pretty fond of that level. It would be a good match to watch, but again, it's a formality, so good job for Ryguy by the numbers, meeting the demotion challenge, and hope that he's able to get his match with War Master in before the time expires. And another player making a lot of noise on the silver level is Deimos. We were excited to hear that he had unretired, but we were worried that he wouldn't be able to get too many matches in, but he's been putting the matches in. He's very quickly got the promotion challenge, but he has had a rough ride of it. We got a 7-20 game against Mark 392, a 13-20 game against Cyrus, and an 8-20 game against Jedi Luke.
Oof.
That puts him at minus 12, I think.
Yep. And I asked him on Mumble last night, you would have to do 20-18 win over Dracona and a 20-15 win over Rethink to meet your promotion challenge. Can you do that? He said no. He doesn't think he can do it.
And it's pretty, he doesn't think he could do it, but it was described by many at the LAN that Deimos is a silver level pilot that plays like a gold player. And that's evidenced by the fact that against two different silver pilots, he's held them to less than 10. So Deimos, very dangerous. Does silver have a new king?
Maybe.
I think we're going to be seeing Deimos back at that promotion challenge if he doesn't make it this time. Yeah, next month he's gonna get it, and it's gonna be very unpleasant for me because I have to deal with this jerk sitting in on my territory. But well, who knows? Things may become interesting.
Indeed.
And that's all I got for silver news. We will move on to gold. Gold, we've got. Let's see here. We got Mark 392. He's been pretty busy. He's held 3 silver pilots to less than 5. getting wins, big wins on Kaina, Melvin, and Zero, and has held 2 pilots to less than 10. That's 10 or less. That's Cyrus and Sirius. Probably what I would choose for my game of the week would be this 20-18 match against Dracona in Athena, missile capped to low Vulcan, but if I recall correctly, it wasn't really missile capped.
No, this one was.
That one was properly missile capped. But 20-18 against Mark in Athena. That's a screamer. Absolute screamer. Dracona.
It's her best performance against Mark II.
Has she ever beaten him?
No.
Let's see here. Going down the list, we got Dracona, 20-16 win over Cyrus and Flea, and a 2017 win against Cyrus and Ascend during the observatory match. I regret not being able to see that. That was a huge come from behind. So if match of the week was 2018 by the numbers, 2017 by performance, Dracona over Cyrus and Ascend. I was going to mention a couple things about Jedi Luke, but he's retired. It's really a shame, honestly. Oh, hell with it. Okay, Silver Pilots, less than 5. Jedi Luke has held Melvin, Warmaster, and Ryguy to 5 points or less, and has held Cyrus and Dracona, 2 Gold Pilots, to 10 points or less at some point this past week, and has had it's an overtime match. Have highlights here, 22-20 over Cyrus in Ascend. It seems as though Cyrus is putting up good numbers in Ascend, but they're just slipping through his fingers.
Yeah.
And I just also want to make the observation here, as I put the notations for performance typically to the winner, and as a result of that, I don't really put like a Cyrus segment in there because he's playing all these people close, and they're getting mentioned in the way that these other players are just barely able to keep the lid on him. So it's going to happen. I have to figure out a way to organize it. But Cyrus is putting up a damned fine performance against some of the top gold pilots. And then we got Zero. Zero had a promotion challenge. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I think Jimmy Russell's knows that.
I think Jimmy Russell's knew that.
Jimmy Russell was very aware of that. And it started out a bit rocky. 11-20 still gives him +1 because he was playing Jedi Luke and Ascend. Then a 16-20 in a matchup in Jedi Luke in Vamped, which definitely favors Zero there. And then he plays 2 Mark 392. Hold on here. That's 2 Jedi Luke matches, 2 Mark 392 matches, and you finish up with Cyrus. That is a brutal promotion challenge.
It is, and each week by.
And it's 20-12 against Mark 392. Again, still adding, so he's got +6, +1, +1. Alrighty, then he goes into Black Rose with Mark 392.
Now, hold on. Before we talk about the score of this, let's keep in mind that this is the map that he held Lady Silver to 3 in her promotion challenge.
This is the level that he got frightfully close to Jedi Luke in. In fact, I believe Zero told Jedi Luke, I want to play you here because you're bad at this map. So Zero's supposed to be a force to be reckoned with in Black Rose. Mm-hmm. Mark 392, 20-5. Held him to 5 points. That set him back at a -6.
And also to note, no suicides. There was no hate train in this. Not a single suicide.
So that put all of his advantage points there. He was down to +2. All that work, that real good game against Jedi Luke and Vamped, hasn't won a single game in the promotion yet. Then he has to go against Cyrus. And the requirements were that he had to get into an overtime loss, I believe. Or like get. I think
the score was the target score was 20-18. Zero only needed 16 to actually make the promotion at that point. He needed -2 or more.
And so, like the aforementioned Cyrus comment, 23-21, Zero over Cyrus in Ascend. Brilliant performance out of both of them, but that was added another +3. Zero finishes out with a +5. He's in gold. He's proven against, the two diamond players on the ladder and the hottest player in silver.
And he also finishes up with another silver dark horse, which he's got a ton of those, and a bus driver. for his last match as silver. That's how you get to gold.
That's how you get the gold. So, whatever Jimmy Russell's may have to say, I think that Zero definitely earned it. So, but yeah, that's going to wrap it up for DCL News here. Very active week. I certainly, a lot of people having a very good success on all tiers of the ladder. It's really cool to see players like B2AF and Maniac getting in a lot of good games and seeing the numbers. I like seeing P-Funk sweat a bit against some of these bronze pilots.
I stand corrected. That was not a bus driver. It's on levels Crimson, not Ascend.
That's correct. But still, when it came down to the wire, P-Funk showed that this is my territory. So keep. It's a ladder. It's meant to be climbed. Climb. Ascended.
Climbed?
It is meant to be ascended.
Ascended. Wait, this is
That's all I
descent,
got
not
for DCL.
ascent. This is
Now, what do we got else left on the show here?
Anyway, so we're going to talk about the highlight of the week, and I'll be honest, I had trouble coming up with. It was going to be Dracona for sure, but I had to choose between her match with Cyrus, which was a splendid comeback, and Mark 392. I'm going to go with her putting up her best performance against Mark. The 20-18 loss in Athena, Missile Cap 2, Low Vulcan. There is a demo from Dracona's side. Definitely go check that out. On the same token, definitely check out her match against Cyrus as well. That comeback was splendid. So, yeah, very cool. And then one note on the game release, I don't have it here in the notes, but the Neon Excesses release date got moved back. It is not going to be on the 16th. It will now be on the 22nd. That is 1 week from Monday. And you can get it now on Steam as a beta, but its formal release as a 1.0 version will be a week from Monday on the 22nd. So definitely check that out.
Okay, well then, folks, I think we're going to start wrapping things up. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, or confessions, and you want to get a hold of us, and you wish to strangle us for the mean and dirty things that we have said about you,
Or Jimmy Russell's.
Yeah, really. Yeah. If you have any remarks for Jimmy Russell's, by all means, send them along. Email us at emails@selfdestructsequence.org. Make certain whether or not you wish to remain anonymous, and we'll be happy to. We're happy to receive any feedback. Tell us if we're doing a terrible job, a wonderful job. We love email. Other contact info, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitch at SDS Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at SDS_activated. Or you can find all of this information on selfdestructsequence.org.
I almost feel like I need to do this because you mentioned the email address, and I am terrible at checking the email address. I think we're going to save this for next week because I have a special pilot capsule for Jedi Luke written by the pilot that knows him best.
Oh dear.
We'll get to that next week because I want to go through this before I mean, it's pretty long, but we'll have that will happen next week. Promise.
Oh dear.
So, anyway, and with that, we're going to be here every week, Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. And definitely check out our podcast over on iTunes, which I'm woefully behind on. I will try to make that up this week. But be sure to subscribe, rate our podcast, give us a review. Those are the best things that you can do for us in iTunes. That's what gets us vision, I guess you can call it. And if you want exposure, yes. And if you want to get back into the game, definitely check out the page over at descentchampions.org/new_player.php. That will give you all the information on how to get Rebirth and Retro up and running on your system. Of course, you need a copy of D1 or D2. You can get those from eBay right now. Definitely check those out. And be sure to watch out for our next stream. And until then, see you, bye.